I'm Gary Parrish. Welcome back to the CBS Sports Eye on College Basketball podcast, where we sometimes discuss camel fighting, dodo birds, and leaky black. Matt Norlander is here with me. If you're watching on YouTube, be Brandon Davies. Smash. And if you haven't yet subscribed to the CBS Sports Eye on College Basketball podcast, please do that anywhere you subscribe to podcasts like Apple and Spotify. Let's get into it. I want to start, I think, in the SEC, which is the top-rated conference in the country, according to the net, but one that has 0 teams in the top 10 of the net and just 1 team in the top 15 of the AP poll. Norlander, I live in snow-covered SEC country. Oh, buddy, do I ever. You were just in snow-covered SEC country. Tell me how much you enjoyed Nashville, and then I'll tell you how difficult it was for me to get home last night, and then we'll try to handicap this SEC race.
Oh, look at the poor guy living in some snow. I'm under a foot of snow up here, okay? What do you got? 4 or 5 inches? You're going to be okay.
We have ice. We have ice. I walked a half mile back to my house last night. Upon leaving Memphis International, my Uber could not get into my neighborhood. I lugged a suitcase through the ice and snow of my neighborhood. By the time I reached my front door, I was like, this must feel like what it felt like to come back home from war. I thought I'd been in war. I was walking through the ice and snow, dragging my suitcase. And oh, by the way, I'm not going to name names because I don't know them. I can't. I don't even know their names. But don't ever let people tell you, folks in the South are the nicest. They do anything for you. They might do anything for you, but let me tell you one thing they apparently will not do for you. Stop and ask if you need a lift to your home. Can you imagine seeing an idiot lugging a suitcase through the ice and snow of his neighborhood and not even stopping to say, man, are you okay? Particularly me. Like, look at me.
Your actual neighbors.
I mean, I don't know. They drove right past me. I can't name names. There. I mean, three different cars on my trek back home. This is me last night. This is the front of my neighborhood. Look at me. I'm disoriented. My suit. That's my suitcase. I mean, 3 different cars drove right past me. Nobody even rolled a window down to be like, "Hey, buddy. Hey, old man."
Wow, that is no plow situation. You hate to see it. Did you shovel? Have you shoveled?
Shoveled? We don't even own a shovel. What are you talking about?
What's the driveway like right now?
My driveway looks exactly like everything else you're looking at. My car has not been out of the garage in a week.
You haven't taken the Cybertruck out in more than a week? Wow.
I don't have a Cybertruck, but we have not taken our vehicle out. Yeah, I mean, everybody's trapped here. And I had to do you know what it's like to be on the road for 11 straight days, finally look forward to getting back home? And then it's like, I guess I got to walk home through the ice and snow. I guess I got to trek a half mile.
What shoes were you rocking out of curiosity?
Jordans. What are you talking about?
I just wonder, like, what was underfoot? Like, how quality was the shoe? Were you mad that it was getting all snowy? Could it handle the traction? All that stuff. A good half mile. The suitcase in the snow is the real issue. I mean, are you not exaggerating? Was it an actual half mile that you walked and not just past like a couple houses and then you were home?
No, I literally Google mapped it. It's a half mile. It was 0.5 mile. I was just through the snow. I never felt unsafe. My traction was fine, but buddy, that's not the way you expect to spend a Thursday night when you get back home.
That's tough. But you rallied, got a pod doc prepped and together, and here we are. I was in extreme. I see snow in that video that you posted. I was in iced over Nashville. The damage, and to anyone that's listening that's in the greater Nashville, Tennessee area, and I think that part of the country in general. I know you got some ice down there in Mississippi and as well. The damage looks like it will take months to recover from. You got to have the ice melt, and then just one tree after another. Homes were destroyed. I saw on Instagram Jeff Coffin, who plays sax for Dave Matthews Band. He lives in Nashville. He was just going around with the chainsaw helping all of his neighbors that had trees on their houses around their properties. It looks like a real long-term recovery. So it was my first trip ever into Nashville. I was there less than 24 hours. Didn't get to see a whole ton of the city, But to the, saw one of my buddies and to the people there at Vanderbilt, they're like, man, you picked the worst time, the worst time ever. This is not what Nashville is. We don't get this. It was a once in a generation kind of ice storm. And I know, and a lot of people, the hotel I was staying at, which was a glacier around it in the road surrounding. I mean, cars, it was on a little bit of a hill. You had cars trying to get up on just straight up iced over roads. And the hotel was fully booked. And I didn't realize this until after I checked in. Everyone that was staying there, not everyone, most everyone, they live in the area. They don't have power. Right. Mark Byington was sleeping in his office. I think he's got power back now. Slept in his office 3-4 days in a row. Had an air mattress and the whole deal. 2 of Vanderbilt's assistant coaches started the game with their homes not having power. And then afterward, they went and checked their phones to find out that their wives had told them power's back. Thankfully, they were going back home. And I think their kids are getting ready to go back to school. So, yeah, the weather has just been havoc across the country. Meantime, there is a bomb cyclone that is apparently about to hit the East Coast again and has affected some games on Saturday and some tip times and all that stuff. So certain parts of the country, in particular around the North Carolina region, seem to be getting hit again. Let's dial into the SEC, excuse me, though. Quick recap of Vandy, and then there's obviously a notable result or two from Wednesday, and we can talk the league overall. That building is awesome. I had never been to Memorial Gym. It was everything I was hoping it would be and more. I'll get to the game in just a quick second, too. We don't have to spend too long on it. I know you talked about it on the show on Wednesday, but it's interesting when you watch a Vandy game on TV and how that Memorial Gym presents itself through the lens of a television camera. It looks different. It feels different when you're actually in it. It actually looks even bigger, and it was originally built as an opera house. So on the sides of the court as you go up, it's just high rising stands, and then on either end of the sidelines there, it's more of like a sweeping rising set of seats there. Very, very cool because of the ice storm. And I don't think it would have been a sellout anyway. Vandy's been very good. Kentucky's been up and down. But I want to say it was still probably 75, maybe 80% filled in the building. But the press row or the media seating is way, way, way high up. I want to give a shout to the Vandy SID that was like, if you can get a seat, take a seat. You don't need to go up there. So I did. I had a front row seat, literally, directly next to Kentucky's baseline bench, which I also love. I just love the quirkiness of it. I like that Vandy is the only gym in the country where the coaches and the teams are on the baselines, not the sidelines. And Byington and Pope had their tiny little stool at midcourt. If they wanted to sit, they obviously never do. I thought that was really, really awesome. It is a different gym. It is a different kind of gym. They've got these 4 pillars that have these great screens now affixed to them, high-def screens that really, from what people were telling me, like it just improves the viewing situation there. But I loved it. It was really cool. And then, oh, by the way, I didn't realize this till I was actually on the ground there. The gym is right next to the football stadium. So that's pretty cool. You don't get that a lot at the high major level where the actual football stadium and the basketball arena are within meters of each other. And then they've got this new facility, 3 stories. It's a top 5 facility in the country. It is an elite building there that they've got going on. So very, very impressed. Thanks to the hospitality from Vandy. Really, really cool. Had a great time there. Wish the weather wasn't so terrible. But it was a lot of fun.
So,
go ahead.
No, I was good. No, just continue. Like I've been to Memorial a lot. I think I was there in college. I know as a beat writer, there was a Memphis Vandy series that took me there. There was a number 1 versus number the number 1 versus number 2 Memphis Tennessee game in 2008. What followed after Tennessee beat Memphis was a trip to Memorial. Tennessee was now number 1 playing Vanderbilt. I think Vanderbilt might have beat Tennessee in that game. So you had
real quick. I think you're right about that. I'll look at it right now.
I want to say number 1 Memphis lost to Tennessee on that Saturday, and then the next week it was number 1 Tennessee lost to Vanderbilt.
That is correct. 72-69. That was the Tennessee team with Chris Lofton, Wayne Chisholm, of course, JP Prince, etc. Lost to a Vandy team coached by Kevin Stallings that got a 4 seed that year. AJ Ogilvy,
yes.
Shane Foster was a real player there. Alex Gordon, Good call on that, GP. In fact, that loss was, it was only Tennessee's third of the season to that point. That Tennessee team would go on to lose in the Sweet 16 to Louisville.
Yeah, so I just echo everything you said about Memorial. It's one of the unique, great places in college basketball. Continue.
It is. Even just like the stuff where the halftime show was this young woman singer-songwriter had a guy playing acoustic guitar next to her, and they played for like 10 minutes, just like, country singer-song. I'm like, you're not even getting this in Lexington. You're not getting that anywhere else. I thought that was a really cool touch. And I want to say the building was even 25 to 30% Kentucky fans, which Vandy fans over the years are obviously used to. It's typically not that far of a drive, and Kentucky fans are going to travel. Kentucky could not get it done. I'll be quick on this, and we can talk overall SEC stuff. But it was startling how much Kentucky wasn't even in the game. Vandy just wasted no time. In particular, Tyler Tanner. He was the primary focus of my column late overnight, Tuesday going into Wednesday. Had a chance to talk with him. He is an awesome young man, 3-star prospect. Didn't even get recruited by another high major. He said he picked Vandy because it was a high major over Murray State and Belmont, who coincidentally enough right now are two pretty good mid-major teams. But he grew up 15 minutes away. Said he went to games occasionally, but he even admitted you wouldn't want to go to the games because they would lose a lot, meaning Vandy. Well, he's helped change a lot of that. And I don't know if he's an All-American right now. We've got a lot of really good guards in this country, but if he can keep this up, and by keep this up, I mean keep Vandy right there near the top of the SEC. Duke Miles is still hurt. He's got a knee issue. Byington told me a little while longer, and then hopefully he'll be able to return. Tanner's got a great chance. And he is the small guard. He's listed at 6 feet. And then I was standing next to him. I was like, come on, man. How tall are you actually? And he had a fun time with it. He's like, no shoes. I swear I just hit 5'11". I'm like, okay. He said he's 5'11", about 168. Got great command on the floor, good hops. Just a really talented guard and a great job. And he was recruited to Vandy by Stackhouse. He never decommitted. Stackhouse gets fired. Byington gave me some great stuff in the story about how, he gets the job coming from JMU where it was awesome, and you're going over the roster. And now in these days, you're going to lose almost your entire roster. And he didn't really give too much thought to this incoming 5'11", local kid who just, who knows? And then he started to hear the Tanner kid, he played pickup before. This is before he's in college. He played pickup with the guys on the Vandy team. And there would be games where he was the best guy on the floor. And then, so Byington gets a little curious. Okay, sure, I guess. Sits down and meets with them, is immediately blown away. And then going into his freshman season when he was on the roster and obviously going through summer stuff, he saw it in person. He saw the flashes of really how good Tanner could be. And then what I didn't know that Byington revealed to me was last season when Tanner was a freshman, averaging fewer than 6 points a game, nobody played more in the final 4 minutes of games that were close and competitive on the entire roster than Tanner. So he immediately trusted him on a level that is uncommon for a non-blue chip level kind of recruit. Now we see the jump here. He's like top 3 in most points improved per game from freshman to sophomore in the entire country. He's been awesome. Vandy is now 18-3, 5-3 in the league. And if I may, GP, I'll toss it back to you and kind of segue kind of big picture overall. I want to get to a couple things on Wednesday night, but this league has now morphed into what I know we talked about in the preseason, specifically with our SEC preview episode, where I had a wonderment if it was going to be one of the most competitive league races in the country, if not the most competitive league race in the country. And that is bearing out. A&M is 6-1. Florida is 6-2. Arkansas is 6-2. Then Vandy, Auburn, and Kentucky, Bama, and Tennessee all have 3 losses in the league. So I know we've mentioned a little bit, I'm sure you talked about it with KB on the show. Is there a viable national title contender in the group? We think maybe it could be Florida. We like Arkansas's talent. I'm not going to put it out of the question that those two and then Vanderbilt can also be in that. But even just shy of that, if you want to put that to the side, I find myself intrigued by the league because it's got a whole bunch of good. There's a lot of good. Is there any great here? I saw that you mentioned on network earlier this week that it still rates as number 1 at Ken Palm. And the reason why that is there's just no bad team. Right. The Big Ten and Big 12 have a couple of teams, and in the Big Ten's case, it's more than a couple, kind of weighing down the bottom, and that's what it is. You're going to rank the league from top to bottom. The bottom teams have to matter as much as the top, and that's why you and I are on the same page. I don't consider the SEC to be the best league in college basketball this season because it lacks the heft for Final Four contenders, for viable national championship contenders. Where do you land on this league right now? Who would you pick to win it? And just your kind of overall thoughts on an SEC that isn't nearly as good as it was a season ago, but does have a variety of teams that are obviously pacing to comfortably make the NCAA tournament.
I know it rates as the number one league in the country in the net at KenPom, just like it did last season. I do not think it's as strong as it was last season, particularly at the top. If you're asking who's the best team in that league right now, forget resume rankings, just like the best, it's probably Florida. And if you're trying to predict the conference champ, I think the smart money would probably be on Florida. I didn't fact check this, but I trust that it's true. You could take any of the other power conferences, whoever is atop the league standings. We probably spent time in the preseason talking about them at length. We probably have spent time throughout the season talking about them at length. In the SEC, it's just not true. I don't know how many words we've said about Texas A&M, but the team at the top of the league standings, at least for now, and perhaps it's schedule induced, but it's true, at 6-1, it's Texas A&M, unranked Texas A&M. It is interesting that we're sitting here, last couple of days of January, and the top-rated conference in the country, the school atop the league standings, is currently unranked. That's an unusual thing.
Unusual, and to the point where it might be near impossible to fact check. It might be unprecedented, honestly. And A&M's gonna have a road game against Georgia. We'll talk about the weekend here in just a few. A&M will be ranked if it wins against Georgia. That is a mortal lock. It'll be 17-4 at that point, 7-1 in the league. The Aggies will break through into the top 25. So it's a little bit of function of the schedule. And I promise I'm not going to make this a thing, but I do want to at least bring some context in. Its conference strength of schedule is last in the league. Tennessee, in the inverse, has the toughest to this point. So that has been a factor as well with the SEC. From just dial back real quick to Wednesday night as we talk about the league. To me, the most compelling game was Tennessee against Georgia. Tennessee gets the win. And Tennessee, after I had some real doubts about its heft, its viability, it has gone on the road to win 2 in a row, beating Alabama last weekend in a really, really good game. And obviously Bama with Bediako in the mix. And then to go on the road and beat Georgia, and kind of got bailed out at the end there because Smurf Melender had a bucket, but you got enough time to score. Like,
right.
There's no guarantee the 3 would have gone in, but he goes for 2. They need 3. This tickets, the clock's ticking down in OT, and Tennessee gets the win. As a result, Georgia loses back-to-back games. It goes from 16-3 to 16-5. And you have the game on your racket at home against a quality team. Mike White's team has still overshot expectations at 16-5 this season, but that was a really good game. And Georgia has just kind of been lingering on the periphery. And I understand that. Wasn't ranked in the preseason, had Asa Newell a season ago, and now, he's off with the Hawks after getting drafted high in the 25 draft. And so Georgia just wasn't expected to be a team that was going to be a team that would probably even threaten to pop into the rankings this season. I thought it had a really good opportunity there, but credit to Tennessee and Rick Barnes' guys. And now they get the benefit of having won 2 in a row. Now they get 2 back at home. That was mighty impressive on Wednesday night.
Circling back to A&M, again, 6-1 in the league, 16-4 overall. That 6-1 league record features 2 quadrant 1 wins, but 0 victories over currently ranked teams. The Q1 wins are at Auburn and at Texas. They are 2-3 overall in Q1. They got a Q2 loss to Central Florida. If you're wondering why the computer numbers aren't top 25, why they don't have a number next to their name right now, but still, this is a tremendous success story. I mean, Bucky McMillan, for people who aren't that familiar, 42 years old. 6 years ago, he was a high school coach. Think about this. 6 years ago, he was a high school coach. Right now, his team is atop the standings of a league with John Calipari, Todd Golden, Nate Oates. I don't have to list all the coaches in the SEC, but that's a pretty remarkable story. And don't ever let anybody tell you that it's impossible to do, overhauling the entire roster. It's difficult. I think there's enough evidence just to support that claim, but not impossible. Top 6 scores at A&M right now, all double-digit scores, all first year in the program. I believe it's 5 transfers, 1 international prospect. So, Bucky that was a big jump from where he was to where he is. But, so far, so good.
It is. No, he's doing wonderfully well in year one, and he's right near the top of the list of best immediately successful hires from the 2025 cycle. Mighty impressive. I wanted to see what our live audience might respond here. Poll right here on the show is who's going to win the SEC, with the options being Florida, Arkansas, Vandy, or other. Didn't have A&M as one of the options there. A&M is included in the other, and that's just 11%. Florida leading the poll, 41%. Then Arkansas at 33%. Vandy at 16%. And then the other 13 teams collectively bringing in 11%. It should be a pretty good race down the stretch. Florida destroyed South Carolina on the road. It was Florida's biggest win by margin ever in league play. And Auburn got a win over Texas Longhorns, just kind of stopping and starting. They seem like a team that can play a spoiler, but a team that can't really handle a ton of success in long stretches there. So plenty to come with the SEC, and obviously we'll have more on the league before we get out of the show.
Yeah, Florida, like I mentioned earlier, in the SEC, up to 8th at KenPom. The Gators are now projected to win the league at that, according to that formula, with a 14-4 record. Arkansas and Vanderbilt now projected to finish second in the league, but 2 games behind the Gators with a 12-6 record. Florida hosts Alabama on Sunday. Arkansas gets Kentucky this weekend. Vanderbilt gets Ole Miss. Let's move on. The CBS Sports Classic is getting a change. Norlander, you had the headline. Kansas is in. Dig that. We'll talk about it next. Let's get a word from our partners.
This isn't just combat. It's cinema.
Ready or not, here I come. Let's go! Are you not entertained?
The new home of UFC, Paramount Plus.
CBS Sports Classic is getting a change. Norlander, you had the headline. The next 4 fields are set next season: 12, 19, 26. Kansas against Ohio State, North Carolina against Kentucky. 4 big brands inside MSG. What more can you tell us?
Well, this is a couple of things. One, yeah, this is an upgrade with, St. John's getting Kentucky this season was awesome. You had Pitino going against Pope, doing so on the 30-year anniversary of Pitino leading Kentucky to the 96 title, and a lot of good stuff there. But Kansas is a blue blood program, and initially, obviously, it was UCLA, and Mick Cronin said, "Thanks, but no thanks. I'm out of here." Unless we're doing the CBS Sports Classic at the Intuit Dome on an annual basis, we don't want in. So Kansas is now replaced on a 4-year deal. So we have Kentucky, Carolina, Ohio State still in there, as they always have been. And now we have a nice 4-year series for this year, not this season, but this year in December of 26. We will have Kansas versus Ohio State and Carolina versus Kentucky. That classic will be at the Garden. It'll be the 4th time the CBS Sports Classic has been in New York City. The 3rd time at the Garden. There was 1 year where it was at Barclays. In 27, it will be Kansas, Carolina, Kentucky, Ohio State, and then these are going to rotate. Kansas will play Kentucky in 28, and then Kansas, and then the matchups for 26 will be the same in 29. So great for the CBS Sports Classic. This is the doubleheader that also goes down during the first weekend of the college football playoff. It's obviously a tentpole event in December for college hoops. I think it's important for the event. I like the fact that we have Kansas on board. That's tremendous stuff. It also means that Kentucky and Kansas are guaranteed to face each other 2 out of every 3 seasons, because they're going to play. They will not play. If you're curious about this, they're not going to play the CBS Sports Classic against each other in the same years that they will play each other in the Champions Classic. Quite obviously, they're non-conference opponents, and so CBS and ESPN made sure that the matchups would not overlap. So no worries on that end here. But yes, Kansas will get Ohio State first, and it's a nice boost. It's a nice bump there for KU, Bill Self and his program moving forward. So the next one will be December 19 of this year, 6 days before Christmas.
All right, here's one for you. Over under.
How many he's coaches in?
How many of the current coaches at these 4 schools will be the coaches in next season's CBS Sports Classic? 3.5.
Next season's. Let's do it. Let's do a double over under.
The number's 3.5 over under current coaches of those 4 schools.
Over, but it's a good one. That's a good one. I'm going to say on December 19th, Bill Self is coaching Kansas. Jake Diebler is coaching Ohio State. Hubert Davis is coaching North Carolina. Mark Pope is coaching Kentucky. I will take the over. Will you take the over?
I will also take the over, but I think I mean, all of those could be interesting for different reasons, couldn't they?
Of course, let's count the ways. With Kentucky, it's Kentucky. It's always interesting. Mark Pope, if he's off to a slow start again, it will be hot seat time, alum or no alum at that situation. If Kentucky just kind of peters out, makes the tournament one and done or whatever it is, and then he goes into the next season, who knows what the roster will look like. And if they don't get off to a good start, yeah, there's a lot there. Carolina, to a similar extent, although Hubert Davis has done a really nice job for the most part this season. We'll see. A lot of this will be affected by how these teams, frankly, how they play over the next 2 months heading into next season. Bill Self in Kansas, I think there's just general, how much longer will Bill Self coach? Although, I'm still going to go by what he told us at Big 12 Media Day off camera. Like he's really invigorated. I still think he's still set to coach for another couple years. And then Jake Diebler in Ohio State, like Ohio State might not make the tournament. And I think there's just some, people looking around like, is he going to get a third year if they don't make the tournament this season? If he does, quite obviously a hot seat season. He was promoted from within after they fired Holtman on Valentine's Day. Wow, almost 2 years since that happened. So there's a lot attached to all those. And yes, all of those coaches in those programs could be facing interesting situations by the time that doubleheader is played on December 19th.
All right, so let's move on.
Hold on. Over under.
Okay.
Under 0.5 coaches at those programs coaching in the 2029 version of the CBS Sports Classic.
29.
Yes. So 0.5. Self at Kansas, Diebler at Ohio State, Pope at Kentucky, Davis at Carolina. 0.5. How many are coaching in the 2029 edition?
I'll take the over, but man, I think that, but it could be 0.
It could be 0. I will take the over at 1. I say 1 manages to get there. I would be surprised if I'd be surprised if it's 3. 2 seems somewhat possible. Like Davis and Pope get it figured out. We don't think Self will probably be coaching in 29. Probably not. Although you never know. And then Diebler. But yeah, I would take the over at 1.
Yeah. All right. Those are good ones. Let's get to the final 4 and 1. I have no idea what our records are. I'm going to ask Josh.
We don't need to know.
I want Josh to get in my ear. I want to hear about how good I am or how good I'm not. I just want to hear whatever the truth is. I want to hear it. But first, let's get one more word from our partners.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ, streaming free anywhere you are.
All right, it's time for the final 4 and 1. Josh, get in my ear. I need to hear. Tell me how good I am at this.
GP, it sounds like you need somebody to tell you that you're good at this, bad. I mean, after trudging through the snow with the suitcase, this will be great timing for me to be able to tell you that your lead is growing, but I fear I can't do that.
Okay, lie to me. I told you I wanted the truth, but I only wanted the truth if it was good. I would prefer a lie. Bro. I would prefer a good lie over bad truth at this point in my life. I've reached the point in my life where I would prefer a good lie over bad. I've had enough bad truths. I'm tired of the truth.
So next Friday before the show, shoot me a text so that we're on the same page when it comes to that, and I'll be sure to. I'll be sure to make that happen. But
I want to be clear. I want to be extremely honest and direct and forthright with our audience. So let's we already live in a post-fact world. We don't need to contribute to that even more. So Parrish, you just got to accept the harsh truth. All right.
Have you seen some of the things people will lie about in this country these days?
I have. I'm extremely aware.
I think final 4 and 1 records is way down low on the list.
A lie is a lie, and having another one isn't a good thing. That's just me.
That's a decent.
That being said,
a decent
Josh,
counterpoint.
I gotta be 15 games over 500, right?
Right, precisely. It's close. GP 29, 31, and 1.
Ugh.
Yeah, that doesn't sound great.
No.
Norlander 28, 32, and 1.
I'm winning. I'm winning.
I'm nipping at the heels.
In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. Is that what they say? Something like that?
I think that's something like that. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I think I'm a one-eyed king right now.
Okay.
I consider myself a one-eyed king right now. Hey, Josh, turn your mic back on. Back me up on this, because I worry sometimes people, from up there, they laugh at me walking through the ice and snow. Like, what are you doing, idiot? back me up on this. We don't know how to handle ice and snow down here. When we get ice and snow down here, we are at the mercy of the sun. Like, until the sun can handle this for us, this is the way we live. We basically turn into Alaska until the sun takes care of it.
100%. The ice is like the snow. You can find ways to push it out of the way, but when it's ice and really anything over a couple of inches, like, it seriously shuts down everywhere until the sun gets rid of it for us. It's pretty true. Like, it sounds dramatic, but it's definitely accurate.
And coming home from the airport, it was fine. For the most part, it was fine until we had to get off the interstate in rural Mississippi. And then, oh, buddy, like, my Uber driver, like, he tried. He did his best. I mean, he gave it his best shot. And he was, I mean, we did 20 minutes just trying to get up this one little hill. No shot. And
20 minutes?
It was about 20 minutes trying to get up the hill. I mean, it was literally a half-mile walk. I mean, I didn't want to do this. I didn't want to walk. And
that is, and we got to get to picking these games here. We've talked plenty about your your Homer-esque journey, but when you've been gone for a while and you want to get home and you're almost there, I feel you. I feel you on that end. I had a straight up puddle in my lift. So it snowed, and then I got picked up from the airport, and I get in the lift at LaGuardia, and there is a puddle on the floor. He had one of those waterproof mats, so it was like a full-on inch deep. But from other people having taken the lift and having snow on their shoes, it had all melted, and so this puddle is swishing back and forth. I had to sit at a 45-degree angle, legs behind the driver's seat, to avoid getting everything wet. So not as bad as riding home. Would you rather sit in a puddle for an hour and a half or walk a half mile in the snow? Honestly,
I would drown myself in that puddle. If you gave me a puddle right now, if you would have given me the option to jump into a puddle last night, I would have dove ahead first and just been like, I'm done with this. So I'm sorry. Hey, sorry about your puddle in your lift. All right. I was out there like Leonardo DiCaprio in that one movie. You know that one movie?
I do. Can you name it?
I don't know, but I think you've got inside of a bear skin or something.
Yep. What's the movie?
I can't. No idea.
The Revenant.
Okay. This is funny. I couldn't get The Revenant, but I had the sound, and so the word that was popping in my head was severance. But I knew it wasn't severance. But I knew it was something that sounded like severance. Anyway, that's what I was doing last night. Sorry about your puddle. Sorry about your little puddle. I was walking around like Leonardo DiCaprio in that one movie that sounds like Severance.
What's game one? We already know what game one is. Let's go.
Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, number 3 Michigan State, number 3 Michigan at number 7 Michigan State inside the Mateen-Cleave Center. You could watch it on Fox. Michigan -1.5. Ooh, that's
this is not a KenPom line. We are day of game situation here. A fantastic Friday night affair. Battle of the top 2 defenses in the country. Big time stuff here, both at 1 and 2 at KenPom in defensive efficiency. A real, genuine rivalry. This one's good. I saw this game a year ago, the first edition of it, but obviously these things rotate every year. The first one was at Chrysler. This one's at Breslin. Both are 9-1 in Big Ten play. Michigan State has won 4 in a row against Michigan. And in fact, this game's in East Lansing. The Wolverines are 3-22 in their past 25 games over in East Lansing. Most recent win for Michigan in that building came in 2018. And ranked on ranked matchups, there have been 18 of them. This will be the 19th time that both these teams play, and both are in the AP Top 25. Michigan State is 12-6 in those instances. This is the 5th time they've both met in the top 10. And with Michigan being 3rd and Michigan State being 7, that adds up to 10. It is the lowest combined ranking for a Michigan State game in the history of this series. This is an awesome, terrific battle. Sparty coming off of the Rutgers scare. Jeremy Fierce had a career high 29 in that game, averaging 14.1 points, 8.9 assists. He's obviously their best, most important player, but I do wonder if Carson Cooper winds up being an X factor in this one. Critical big man, really has a good knack for playing tough around the rim, both ends of the floor. I'm watching out for him in this game, in addition to Fears, who's been tremendous, and I expect him to be tremendous in this one as well. In fact, I'm interested to see how Michigan chooses to guard him, if they choose to blitz him, and how he handles, because he's one of the best point guards in the country. Michigan, of course, coming off the close win over Nebraska. I was able to watch a decent portion of that game because it ended before my Vandy Kentucky game started. So I watched essentially almost all of the final 12 to 14 minutes of that game, and it looked like Nebraska was going to win. Michigan trailed for the first 36 minutes of that game. They tied it up in the final, 2 and change, and they get the win. If Michigan wins this game, GP, it will be 20-1, which will match its best start ever. The Michigan team of 2012-13, which made the title game, and then 2018-19 also started 20-1. Michigan has never been 21-1. And then a couple more notes for you. Adaimara scored double figures 5 games in a row now, shooting 78% in that stretch. He has really come on as of late. And because he's come on, Morez Johnson Jr. has been really, really good as well. Yaxel Lendenborg has gone from, is he number 2 for National Player of the Year, to he's fallen back in that race. Still a really good player. Michigan's just had more balance and hasn't relied on Yaxel as much. I wonder when he's going to have another major pop of a game. Is it this one? Is it sometime soon? Wait and see on all that. A lot of just really intriguing good stuff. And then if you'll remember, GP, a year ago on this court, this is when the final regular season game is on CBS. You had Michigan players standing on the logo of Michigan State when they like to kiss it for senior day, and that led to a little bit of a dialogue and discussion and near scuffle as well. So plenty going to this one. Amazing Friday night game to set the tone for the weekend. I'll give you the pick. I will take Michigan as the home dog straight up. I'm a little surprised Michigan's favored. Give me Sparty to win and cover.
Okay, Michigan State as the home underdog. You mentioned Fears. He backs that 17-17 game with the 29-point performance. The 8.9 assists you referenced, Braden Smith right now, 9.0 assists. So Jeremy Fears is going basically assist for assist with possibly the future all-time NCAA assist leader. If you care about the Ken Pom Big Ten Player of the Year race, right now, Jeremy Fears is leading that in order, and this could be an All-American team almost. Jeremy Fears, Braden Smith, Yaxel Lindenborg, Keaton Wagler, Bennett Sturtz. That's 5 pretty good ones. Yeah. Michigan State, 7 straight wins. That's the 10th longest active streak in the country. Michigan is obviously awesome. You mentioned that front court. Number 1 in offensive 2-point field goal percentage. Number 2 in defensive 2-point field goal percentage. That's the strength of that front court. But I'm a building truster. You know that about me. I'm a building truster. I will also take the home underdog, Michigan State. Game 2, Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern, San Diego State at Utah State inside the Evelyn Wood Spectrum. You can watch it on CBS. It's America's most watched network of stars. Ken Pom has it. Utah State -6. I see that look on your face. You're puzzled. Who is Evelyn Wood?
I know who Evelyn Wood is.
I don't think you do, but you owe her. You owe Evelyn Wood a debt of gratitude.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Did Evelyn Wood invent something?
Yes.
Okay. Was it invented in the past 50 years?
I didn't. Probably not. It was probably invented before that. It was probably invented. She left this world in 1995.
Okay. Did she invent something that I may use on a daily basis?
No, but we use it. Your readers use it. Your readers use it on a weekly basis at least.
Our readers use it on a weekly basis at least.
That's right.
But not a daily basis.
I mean, no, not on a daily basis. You ain't that efficient, but certainly on a weekly basis.
Our readers use it on a weekly basis. Was invented probably more than 50 years ago.
Yeah.
You need your eyes to do it?
I think you might. I mean, I prefer.
I was gonna say, did she invent the near or far-sighted lenses for glasses?
No. But I think you do. I think if I had to put my hand on the good book, and swear in, I would have to say, yeah, you probably need your eyes to do it. At least one eye.
At least one.
You might not need
I
both.
don't know. This could take too long. We gotta talk ball here. What did she invent?
She invented speed reading. Do you have any idea how long she invented?
Can you invent speed reading?
Yes, you can invent speed reading. She invented speed reading. She's from Logan, Utah, and she invented speed reading. Do you have any idea how long it would take us to get through a court report without Evelyn Wood?
Half of what it says on the site. That's all I know.
It would take 78 minutes to get through a court report without the great Evelyn Wood and her contribution to this world.
You can't invent speed reading. I'm sorry. That's like saying you invented sprinting. You just do it.
No. Yes. Everybody was reading.
That's not an invention.
You're sorry. Not giving her enough.
Everybody is not an invention.
Everybody was reading so slow.
That's a discovery, I suppose. It's not an invention. There's a difference.
No, buddy, go find you a podcast from like 1931. This is what it sounded like. Game 2, Saturday, 1 p.m.
A podcast from 1931.
Yeah, go find a podcast from 1931. This is what it sounded like.
A podcast from 2001.
No, they're out there. You just got to know where to look. It sounded like this: Game 2, Saturday, and then Evelyn Wood came along, and she was like, "Come on, let's pick up the pace. Come on, let's read a little better." And now we're like, Game 2, Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern. That's Evelyn Wood. She did that. This would be a 7-hour podcast if not for Evelyn Wood. We'd just be talking so slow.
Aztecs are in first place in the Mountain West. That was obviously the preseason favorite. 1-game lead over the team picked second, Utah State. So this is a tasty one. I was going to put this in as the and one if you didn't do it. I appreciate that you did this here. Utah State is 8-1 at home this season. Average win margin 20.5 points. Only loss came when it blew a 14-point lead to UNLV earlier this season in the second half. Aggies, Utah State has won 40 of its past 44 games at home. San Diego State's 4-1 on the road this season. The only loss was by 1 at Grand Canyon. These two teams, it should be a good game because they're not just good teams. They bring back a ton. SDSU has 60% of its scoring from a season ago. Utah State, 46%. And then as for the scoring part of it, San Diego State's bench, 39 points per game. That's second in the country to Tarleton State. It's averaging, San Diego State, 81 a game. It has not averaged better than 80 in a game since 84-85. So not your typical Aztecs team. Miles Bird in the past 4 games averaging 15 points per game, a couple of 20-point games in there as well. So he's been strong. And then Utah State, best mid-major scoring duo in the country. MJ Collins at 19 a game and Mason Falslev at 16.3. This team ranks top 10 in field goal percentage. I'm going to take San Diego State on the road. 6 seems too many. I bet you when the real line comes out, it's less.
MJ Collins, transfer from Vandy, like you mentioned. Think about, I know it doesn't work like this, but like that Vandy team has been one of the stories of college basketball, and Utah State's leading scorer was there last season. He's at 19 points per game, 53% from the field, 42% from 3, but has not been shooting it well lately. Just 9 of 35 from 3 past 5 games. That's 25.7%. I'm a building truster. You're gonna spot a trend. You're gonna spot a pattern in this Final 4-1. I'm a building truster. I'm taking Utah State. Game 3, 4:30 p.m. Eastern. Number 13 BYU at number 14 Kansas. Inside Mario Chalmers Fieldhouse. Chalmers for the tie. Dozier for the championship. You can watch it on ESPN. KenPom has it. Kansas -4.
Peterson, DeBonsa. It's here. These two have played each other before. Peterson got the better of DeBonsa twice at the high school level. Bill Self has made multiple indications that Peterson will play in this game. He told me last Saturday when it came out that he wasn't going to play, that he thought he'd be on track to play. And knock on wood, everything looks like he's going to be on the floor for that. And just from DeBonsa's side, I was obviously in Provo for a few days, got to talk with AJ a little bit. He wants this matchup. He's looking forward to it. He is a real film junkie, watches it a ton. In fact, when I was talking to him after the win over Utah on Saturday, I think I might have mentioned this that night on the show. He was like, after he was done with me, he was getting back, watching the Kansas game, which Peterson obviously wasn't playing in, and then get ready to cash out, go to bed, and then wake up and study up on Sunday for the game against Arizona, which wound up being kind of a wild one. this is the kind of game where if it really goes well and if it's really close, like it can be one of the most memorable games of the entire season. We'll see if we can get there. BYU cannot, I want to say cannot, I mean, it has overcome it. Just you go into that building, you can't fall behind by 12 at the under 8 of the first half. Like they've had some issues with slow starts this season. I know that's going to be one of the biggest points of emphasis without question. They've had a good lead up here to prepare for this game. Kansas has had 6 days to prepare for it, so they've had some real time here. I wonder if Kennard Davis winds up being a key guy to watch for in this one for BYU. He went 5 of 5 on Monday against Arizona and was kind of quietly like the key guy to even getting BYU back within range, other than the officials. And I know Arizona fans were beside themselves because there were a couple of shaky calls, unquestionably. No doubt about it. Like, Arizona got out of there. It got the win narrowly. But part of the BYU was fighting, but there was a couple of like, not so sure about that one. This is just a fabulous game. And also smack dab in the middle of the afternoon, like top 15 matchup. I'm actually surprised this isn't in prime time, but whatever. I'll take it whenever you're going to play the game. How healthy is Peterson? How much of the game becomes about these two players versus, Kansas at home, top level defense. We've seen Trey White play well. We've seen Melvin Council take over. Is Peterson going to be near 100%? How much of it is, can he go? Is he going to be able to finish out the game, which is not a joke? Like we've seen most of the time, he hasn't been able to do that. We kind of wait and see on his just overall availability to go for it, because I just guarantee you this: DeBonsa is champing at the bit and looking forward to this matchup in a major way. And he does not even need to be the guy that leads BYU in scoring. He might, we'll see. But Rob Wright or Richie Saunders who fouled out on Monday and wasn't even available down in the final minute of that game, which would have been crucial if he was on the floor. Either one of those guys could be the guy that winds up going for 20 plus. I think Rob Wright's just got to pick his spots. Like he can catch fire, good 3-point shooter, registers as BYU's best 3-point shooter. But I think he is at his most dangerous when he's capable of scoring on a given possession, but it's more setting up, breaking down the defense to get DeBonsa or Rob or Richie Saunders a shot. And then there's Keba Keita, whose defense has been outstanding as of late. I wonder how much of a factor he winds up being in this game, how they deploy him in what ways, because he is just a raging rim protector at times and just plays with beautiful violence. I love watching Keita play. This has the potential to be an outstanding, fantastic matchup. You said the line was 4. I'm going to try and wish this and talk this into existence. I think Kansas will win, but it will be a 1-possession ending. That gives me BYU to cover.
The game will unfold however the game unfolds, but going in, the story is clearly Peterson and DeBonsa. I think if you listen to this podcast or follow college basketball at all, you know that they are perceived to be the two leading candidates, best candidates to be, in the conversation to be the number 1 pick in the 2026 NBA draft. Cameron Boozer also a part of it, but if you care about the betting markets, I went and checked this morning. It is Peterson and DeBonsa in that order. Peterson is now minus money to be the number 1 pick in the draft. After that, it's DeBonsa. After that, it's Boozer. But based on where we're at right now in this moment, the first 2 names to be called in the 2026 NBA draft are expected to be on the court this weekend. Our buddy Sam Vecini had a nice piece on AJ's sort of struggles, relatively speaking, against top tier competition so far this season. Like, he's as Sam points out, he's a top 3 pick. Whatever concerns there are, they're small concerns. But it is noticeable and notable that his shooting percentages and how often he gets to all that stuff has gone down. The numbers are down against the tip top competition. So pay attention to that this weekend. As long as we're calling Kansas tip top competition, Allen Fieldhouse obviously providing an incredible stage.
I want to follow up just on that a little bit, because I did, as the game was playing out Monday, and DeBonsa in the first half, he loved, and there's a reason why he loves it. Like he just loves the soft mid-range jumper, fade away, or if I can make my spot. But he was 6 of 24 against Arizona. What's interesting is 3 games ago, Texas Tech, 84-71, a loss for BYU. DeBonce in that game has only 13 points, and he was 6 of 17 from the field. He was even worse. That was his worst game yet. Then he drops 43 on Utah. Got to see that in person, and it was an amazing experience just to be able to take that in and be in that building. And what I thought was just going to be kind of a throwaway game, it turns into what might well be the best game of his college career. And then that's followed up against the worst shooting game. So 2 of the past 3 games have been quite literally DeBonce's worst games sandwiched around his best game here. How does he respond to that? He's going to nod himself. I was talking with his mother after the Monday night loss real briefly, and such a sweet, wonderful woman. And she said, man, he doesn't often have a lot of bad games, but when he does, he is really hard on himself. Like he's a big critic for his own play, which, you would expect to hear for a player of his talent and capability. Interested to see how he is deployed in this game, because in talking to Kevin Young about him last week, BYU's coach was just telling me, like, we love our roster and our setup and what we're capable of and what we can do offensively and how we build out, how we, win games and all that. But he said, there are some times where it just feels like, because of Kevin Young's experience in coaching at the NBA level, sometimes you just need to absolutely simplify it and trust that your best player is going to be able to do what he needs to do in big moments there. I'm wondering if we get that in this game, how DeBonce gets started. It's on the road. Kansas isn't the upper echelon, to your point, GP, and what Sam wrote about. We'll try to get to Sam before the end of the show here.
Of course.
But this is if it doesn't go that way for him again, then I think we might have a little bit of a something there that we can dig a bit more into. But to no surprise, Sam's just a little bit ahead of the pack on picking up on that trend. I think he'll fare well in this one, but I'm not convinced he'll be the leading scorer. Like if you told me that Richie shows up again and plays extremely well, and Saunders is the guy that leads BYU in scoring, I think that's possible. And I also don't think it matters who that person is in relation to how BYU gets the win. With the stuff that Kevin runs and how they do their deal, I think there's a variety of options on the table. I'm super excited for that one. This game, DeBonce and Peterson, that's just the must-watch matchup. I think Michigan State's the game that I'm most looking forward to, because those are both national title contenders. It's a bona fide rivalry, but this is, on a weekend where we've got some solid stuff. This isn't the best weekend of the season so far, not even close. It's really tasty that we have these two matchups to look forward to, and there's still even more games to get to. What do we got for game 4?
Well, you picked BYU. I need to get on the record.
Yes,
in the spirit of the block, I need to get on the record. I'm a building truster. I'll take Kansas -4. Game 4 Sunday, 4 p.m. Eastern. Number 9 Illinois at number 5 Nebraska inside Pinnacle Bank. You don't mess with Pinnacle Bank. You can watch it on FS1. KenPom has it Nebraska -2.
I'll give the pick and then we'll get into the game. I'm absolutely trusting Fred Hoiberg and those Nebraska Cornhuskers in this game to win and to cover. They're going for the sweep of Illinois in the process. I think they're going to get it done, coming off of the loss where, yes, you want to say that they should have won, that this should be a 21-0 team, that we should have 3 undefeated teams and not just 2. You have a very strong case. Credit to Michigan for finding a way to get it done. Nebraska not at full strength. Frager didn't play. Mast was sick, and now Mast obviously on pace to return for this one and welcome Illinois into its join. Nebraska won against Illinois back on December 13th, 83-80 here. Illinois is a top 5 team at KenPom. Nebraska's just outside the top 10 overall. In the rankings, obviously, in the human rankings, the AP rankings, this is an outstanding top 10 matchup. For Illinois, it won last night, 75-66 over Washington. That game actually had, just from a production standpoint, 2 of the top 10 freshmen in the country. Hans Steinbach at Washington, probably I'd rank him 10th, but he's been productive this season. He went for 15 and 12 in the 9-point loss. Washington's it's just an average. It's a run-of-the-mill team there, unfortunately, despite having a really talented 6'11" big man. Keaton Wagler followed up his 46-point performance with 22 at home, in addition to 8 assists. Played really well again. I watched a decent portion of this game. Illinois just always had Illinois had Washington at arm's length for the majority of it. But David Merkovich, who's another freshman, had himself a really nice night. Illinois has the offensive capability. There's no question. It's the number 1 offense in the country, and it can stroll in. It can walk into Pinnacle Bank and pick off a W. It can. But I'm going to ride with Nebraska, and I've seen a bit of this floating around, and I would guess that you agree, GP. Nebraska playing the way it did, shorthanded, close, down to the final minute against Michigan, and not going into that building and losing by 14 did wonders for, I think it's overall national respect and credibility. Now, not on this podcast. Nebraska has been lauded and discussed as a legitimate Final Four team for well over a month. Viewers and listeners to the show know that we have been aboard the Nebraska train, but you know how these things can go. It's just not a program that is accustomed to having tremendous amount of success. It doesn't have all this history. So the general sports public is going to be slow to embrace Nebraska as a viable team, the same way that Indiana football a year ago wasn't embraced as a real title contender. And then look what it did in a year. We'll see if Fred Hoiberg can write a similar story, tough as that may be. I will take Nebraska to get this done and win what I think will be frankly a fairly fantastic game. And our plan here on Sunday is to go live very, very shortly after this one is final. So I'll take it. Line's only 2, Cornhuskers to win and to cover.
I will also take Nebraska. I'm a building truster, but Illinois will have the best player on the court in Keaton Wagler, who has gone from a, borderline top 150 high school senior to a freshman projected to go in the top 20 of the 2026 NBA draft. You're right, I think, about Nebraska. More respect at 20-1 than it had at 20-0. Because you go to Chrysler, to Ann Arbor, and you play it to the final horn while missing 2 of your top 3 scores. And I even noticed the way they talked about themselves, whether it was Fred or Sam, both of them were like, this proves we can play with anybody in the country. This proves we're a legitimate Final Four contender. I think if I would have asked the question a week ago, just, put it in a poll, can Nebraska win the Big Ten? Overwhelmingly, people would have just said, no, probably not. It's going to be Michigan or Michigan State or Illinois or you name it. But right now, even after it took its first loss, can Nebraska win the Big Ten? You would get a higher percentage of yeses right now than you would have gotten before the Michigan game. I think that's probably true. And if I had to personally answer that question, yes, Nebraska can win the Big Ten. I don't know that it will, but I believe that it is capable of doing that. It's good enough to do that.
Yeah. Super excited for that game. Again, that one's on Sunday. I've got the N1 and then a quick tour of what to know this weekend elsewhere. N1 Saturday, 6:30. We had to go with this one. There are a couple of nominees, but it's got to be this one. Saturday, 6:30 Eastern on ESPN. It's Kentucky at number 15 Arkansas on Bobby Cordes Port. Ken Palm GP has this line, Hogs -7. Thoughts on the pick? What do you got?
I'm a building truster in Kentucky. My God, they just got smacked around real bad at Vanderbilt. I don't know that. I mean, we'll see. But that was, and you saw it in person, but that was, I think, when Kentucky starts losing Jalen Lowe, then Jaden Quaintance, the injuries start to stack up. They kept winning, but it was like, all right, when's it going to fall apart? And it looked like it started to happen in Nashville. And if I were a Kentucky fan, I'd be concerned that it continues in Fayetteville.
Yeah. So you're going to take Arkansas to cover?
Sure.
Okay. Then again, our KenPom line here is -7. We'll see if that number is different from the actual line when it pops here later on Friday. Yeah. Kentucky first, then Arkansas for me. Kentucky had won 5 in a row and it was looking strong. And then, I mean, it's just a startling no-show. And the problem with Kentucky is that there are too many of these games and too many of these performances. I thought it was the second worst showing of the season for the Wildcats. The only one worse was the vaporization that Gonzaga put on Kentucky, coincidentally enough, in Nashville. Unfortunately for UK, it's got to go back to that city for the SEC tournament. We'll see if it has any more success once it plays there in 6.5 weeks. So we'll see. Jaden Quaintance isn't going to play. It's kind of, Pope said publicly what had kind of been expressed to me behind the scenes. He's just not, the knee isn't good enough right now. They are not going to push it. He came back on accelerated timeline, and now he's sidelined as well. Cam Williams isn't close to coming back. They're hopeful maybe he can return, end of February, March, we'll see. But they're not at full strength. Otega Owe and Denzel Aberdeen were the only guys that showed up really at all on Tuesday night. We'll see if it matters here or not. Arkansas is in a bit of a groove. It has taken some losses earlier this month, but if you've watched this team play, and Darius Acuff was key again when the Hogs won on Tuesday at Oklahoma, Acuff has been, again, you actually task yourself out with ranking the top 5 freshmen in the country. You want to put 9 names on the list for the top 5. Acuff is in the top 5. Inarguable. I'm not budging off it. To this point, he has been outstanding and one of the best point guards, lead guards in the country. He's guiding a team that's super talented, that Calipari's really got clicking. And in this spot at home, remember Cal went into, they only had 1 game last year, and they've only got 1 game this year. I sure like to see these teams play twice next year in the SEC rotation, the regular season, if we could. Folks at the office down there in the Southeastern Conference, I think Cal gets it done again. I'm going to say Arkansas wins and covers, and whether it's Acuff, feels like it might be a Carter Knox kind of moment. Notably for the Hogs, they've got 4 guys shooting 39% or better from 3-point range. They've got some real capability from beyond the arc. That has not been the case with some Calipari teams in recent vintage, but they've got it here. Building will be electric. Kentucky's up against it in a really tight spot. If Kentucky can go in and win this game, then it's going to be near the top of the list of just the most interesting teams in the country, because they're not expected to win the game. Not the way that they no-showed at Vandy. We'll see what Pope and his guys can do to rally themselves, but that's going to be very hostile, sellout crowd, Bud Walton Arena. That's big time stuff. I will go with Arkansas to win and cover. And GP, you said you're the same.
Yeah, I will also take the Razorbacks. I'm going to go 5 for 5, trusting Buildings in this edition of the Final 4 and 1.
What else is new? Okay, some others to watch real quick. CBS Sports Network tonight, 8 Eastern, right alongside Michigan State. Is a 2-screen Friday, folks. Dayton at St. Louis. If St. Louis was on the road in this game, this would have been my N1, but St. Louis is going to be favored heavily at home. I think it's going to get it done. SLU has been outstanding. This is a 20-1 team that is a 1 shot away from being undefeated. Billikens are about to have it's going to about to be Billiken February, especially if they win this game, because they've done outstanding and are helping the A-10's prospects of being a multi-bid league if they can't get the auto bid in the A-10 tournament. On Saturday, other games to know: Duke at Virginia Tech at noon on ESPN. You figure Duke will win. It has been picked off in that building as a really good team in years past. I know Duke and Vatek fans alike know that to be the case. Keep an eye on that. Boozer's still #1 for Player of the Year. Also at noon, Texas Tech at UCF, ESPN2 at noon. Just one of those, keep an eye on it. Get the Saturday rolling here. I'll be at my kiddos' basketball game, and we'll have both those games up on the phone. Appreciate YouTube TV allowing for the multi-view option on cell phones as well. 1 Eastern, Texas A&M takes its best record in the SEC on the road at Georgia on SEC Network. Compelling game. We see if an A&M can keep it going. I think that's a pretty big one for Georgia's standing in the league and its belief that it can finish in the top 3 in the conference. Get that stuff done at home if you can in Athens. 2 Eastern, SMU at Louisville on ESPN. I just want to see how both these teams play in this spot. Michael Brown Jr. back in the mix. That one's intriguing to me. And then we've got a little bit of a gap for games that weren't in the Final 4 and 1. A lot of the stuff between 2 and 8 is already occupied. And we talked about UConn at Creighton, 8 Eastern on Fox. This is, you know what this is, GP? You know what this is the return of? UConn at Creighton, scene of the crime.
2 rings, Baldy.
Yes, this was the 2 rings Baldy from a year ago. That was Dan Hurley's only win in Omaha ever. I know we're not going to get
2 rings, Baldy.
I know we're not going to get that again. And trust me, Hurley will be all too aware that he needs to get, as he told me in the preseason, he needs to get from the court to the locker room without incident. Can a Creighton fan come up with some sort of creative sign for this and get it on television? There could be some real potential there. Creighton has been just up and down. So we'll wait and see on all that. UConn is 20-1 and 13 at KenPom, which is just wild, but it's got narrow margins in the league. It's just not winning by the amount that it's expected to do so at. We'll see if it can get it done here on the road, or if it kind of gets picked off on the road in the way that the numbers would suggest. GP, just a couple more than you can chop in, and we can end the show. 8:30 Eastern, Auburn at Tennessee on ESPN. Quality game. Good game there. Auburn's been playing well as of late, so is Tennessee. 10:30, St. Mary's at Gonzaga on ESPN. It's the final time St. Mary's will play at Gonzaga, with both of them being in the WCC, because the Zags are going to the reborn Pac-12 next season. And then on Sunday, Purdue at Maryland, 1 Eastern on CBS. Maryland obviously isn't good, but Purdue right now, it's on a slide. It needs to end that and avoid getting 4 in a row. And then also 1 Eastern on Sunday is Alabama at Florida on ABC. This is famously the game where Todd Golden promised that they'd beat Alabama even if it had Charles Bediako, which, by the way, it still does. That case has been pushed into next week, so that will be a highly intriguing one on Sunday. Alabama will have all the motivation in the world to prove Todd Golden wrong.
Just on Tennessee Auburn, another note. It's obviously not just an interesting game between likely NCAA tournament teams. It's Stephen Pearl coaching against his alma mater.
That is that's a good point there. Yeah, I forgot about that. But yes, that's certainly a note there. And I see someone in the chat wanted this.
Your ball!
That is correct. So there we go for Dan Hurley. Not for GP, but for Dan Hurley. And that, my friend, is a show.
Shouts to Devin Downey. Shouts to Chester, South Carolina. Shouts to Terry Teagle, legend, Huck Larnell. Thank you guys once again for watching and listening to the Eye on College Basketball Podcast. If you're not subscribed, please go subscribe anywhere you subscribe to podcasts, Apple, Spotify. There's more of us than there are of them. That should be reflected in the comments. So please do that, and we'll talk to you again on Sunday. Till then, take care.